In this video, I'm going to demonstrate some muscle tests for the shoulder region. We're going to start with the rotator cuff muscles. So we'll start with supraspinatus. So to perform this muscle test, you're going to ask your client to pop their elbow tucked into their side and their elbow stays at about 90 degrees. Support the client's opposite shoulder, and then you're going to ask the client to abduct their elbow. So they're going to push their elbow out as you're trying to keep it tucked into their torso. Good, and you're after that 3-second isometric contraction and relax. You may get some trick movements, so the supraspinatus performs the first 15 degrees of abduction, so just be careful that the client doesn't start the movement out here, otherwise it is the deltoid working, not the supraspinatus. So to recap, the supraspinatus muscle test is one of the rotator cuff muscles. We're going to have the elbow tucked into the client's torso. Going to support the elbow and the shoulder, and then you're going to ask your client to move their elbow away from their torso while you resist them. They match your resistance and hold for about 3 seconds and relax. Thank you. So to test another rotator cuff muscle, infraspinatus, again, the elbow and the arm stays in the same position for all 4 tests. We're going to ask the client to bring their wrist outwards. So they're going to perform lateral rotation at the humerus. So you're going to support the elbow, then ask the client to bring their wrist outwards. This is for the infraspinatus. Good, and relax. So just to recap, it's for the infraspinatus, which is the muscle just underneath the spine of scapula. We're going to want lateral rotation of the humerus, so the elbow is tucked into the client's torso, and you're just going to ask them to bring their wrist outwards. Good. Just be careful that the elbow doesn't want to come out as well. It's a rotation, not abduction. So that was supraspinatus and infraspinatus. For subscapularis, that's on the inside of the scapula. Again, same position, but this time we're going to ask the client to keep their elbow where it is, but they're going to bring their wrist inwards. So you're going to support on the inside of the wrist, and they're going to push in. Good, and relax. And again, you're resisting that movement. Elbow stays at around about 90, elbow at 90, tucked into their torso. So this is for the subscapularis, supporting the elbow. You want internal rotation at the humerus, support at the wrist, and then they're going to just push in. They match your resistance, 3-second contraction, and relax. Again, you're looking for pain or weakness, comparing it from the uninjured side to the injured side. For teres minor, this is a double movement, so they're going to want to adduct the elbow and externally rotate. So if you pop your hand on the inside of their elbow, they then squeeze their elbow towards their torso, and now you're going to ask them to push their wrist outwards. So the elbows are going to come in, and the wrist is going to come out. And relax. So it's a tricky movement to ask for 2 movements. So if the client doesn't understand it or get it, show them again, then ask them to put the 2 movements together. So remember, it's elbows coming in, so it's adduction of the humerus, and then external rotation of the humerus. Wrist is going to come out. Wonderful. So my hand's coming in, and this hand's coming out. So that was the 4 rotator cuff muscle tests: supraspinatus, infraspinatus, subscapularis, and teres minor. For the shoulder as well, we can also test the deltoids. So for the anterior portion of the deltoids, we're going to raise the elbow up, and then we're just going to ask the client to push forward. So they're going to bring their humerus forward, so transverse flexion at the shoulder, and relax. This is to try and isolate and test the anterior deltoids. We can again try and isolate the middle deltoids by bringing the elbow up towards the ceiling, contracting the deltoid fibers at the top there. And for the posterior fibers, same position, they're just going to bring their elbow backwards. We're still after that 3-second contraction, and we're looking for the quality and any pain that's elicited. Good, so it was 3 deltoid muscle tests. Anterior, they're going to come forward. For the middle fibers, we're going to come up. The elbow is going to be pushed up to the ceiling. And for the posterior fibers, the elbow is going to come backwards. And you can use this hand to support the shoulder. Good, and relax. So that was the rotator cuff muscles, the deltoid muscle tests, and now we can have 2 pectoral muscle tests. So similar position to the deltoids. This time we're going to drop the elbow slightly, and then we're going to rotate the hand up so that it's toward about a 45-degree angle. Supporting the bicep, they're going to push up like a Superman type movement, and this is to target the clavicular fibers of the pectoral. Supporting the shoulder, ask your client to push their hand up at a 45-degree angle. Usually it's where the ceiling meets the wall. Good, and relax. And if you have your hand, or ask the client to have their hand on their pectorals, they can usually feel that the muscles fibers are contracting. To try and target the sternal fibers, we're just going to internally rotate the humerus slightly, pointing the hand down at about 45 degrees, and we're going to ask the client to push downwards towards the floor, usually where the floor meets the ceiling. Good, and relax. So for the clavicular fibers, we're pointing upwards slightly to 45 degrees, and push forward and up, good. And for the sternal fibers, we're pointing down at a 45-degree angle and pushing forwards and down. Try to isolate part of that large muscle. And finally, we can also test the lats, or the latissimus dorsi. So here we're going to have the arm in a similar position, but this time the hand's going to be pointing up. So you've got a 90-degree from the torso to the humerus, and a 90-degree in the elbow. The client is going to push down through their elbows. The elbow is going to be pushed down towards the ground. You're going to support. Good. So just to recap, latissimus dorsi test, we're trying to isolate the lats here. So we want a 90-degree angle at the shoulder and 90-degree angle at the elbow, where the elbow is going to be pushing down. It can be quite a strong muscle, so make sure you can tuck your elbow into your side, or you just ask the client to make sure they match your resistance. If they were pushing too firmly and they ended up pushing their arm all the way down, then it means it's not an isometric contraction. So just ask your client to match resistance, put them back to the start position, and ask for the contraction again. Just push down, good, match my resistance, and relax.